what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good?
So yeah, we got a lot to talk about, Keys. Of course, we're gonna talk about London and high level conversations. But before, let's jump into this AI conversation. So I spoke to you and I asked you, I'm like, yo, you think you want to come on Market Mondays? And you was like, yeah, I want to talk about a few different things. He's like, this AI situation, specifically, I guess there's a lot of stuff happening. So what do the people need to know about the latest developments in artificial intelligence?
Well, back in 2019, I labeled this as a decade of AI, right? And that decade of AI is artificial intelligence, artificial insemination, right? Artificial ingredients, right? So when I'm talking about artificial ingredients, I'm talking about like being able to make food, right? Like Beyond Meat, Impossible Meat. We know we're in a food crisis. We know we are in a baby bust crisis. Not that many babies are being born. But right now in the technological development, artificial intelligence is talking about all of these new ways where people can automate things where you no longer need human beings, right? So one of the biggest things right now, if you look at what Google is getting into it, Microsoft, all of the companies across the board, and there's something called Midjourney, and there's one called DALL-E 2. Now, both of these are basically platforms where you can type in descriptions of ideas and they will generate pictures, right? Now, it's been going crazy. And let me tell you, I'm telling your audience this, but, a lot of people ain't sharing this game because there's a lot of ways to monetize this right now, right? So a lot of things that you may be doing in your business can be replaced by AI instantaneously, right? And I'm not trying to put people out of jobs, but your industry is already being threatened. So graphic artists and graphic designers, your industry is a threat right now, right? Being able to create thumbnails and not only just creating pictures, because it can generate just about any picture you want to in a matter of seconds and give you options, remaster it, make it creative, or make it exactly how you want to. So now the ability for human beings to completely master their imagination is right at their fingertips. And it doesn't require somebody to be a genius, but that's why I always said that this is the time of creatives. It's not the time of hard workers. It's the time of creatives because the tools have been built. So I've been playing around with this a lot, right? And I've been utilizing it for thumbnails. I've been utilizing it to create content with. I've been teaching and training my team with it so that we can create content because everybody needs to create content for their business. So right now, generating consistent content flow is key, especially during these recessionary times, right? So number one, I wanted to start off there, and there's actually tons of AI programs such as, text to video prompt. There's ways to create full-length speeches, full-length, captions and text. Like there's so many automation tools right now. It's getting ridiculous out there. And the average person knows 0% about it. And that's one of the things that I'm very engaged on teaching right now.
Keys, I want to talk to you about the battle between corporate and creative, right? Because a lot of times when people are creative, corporate can steal that creativity and make it their own. So how does one approach this new space, right? From the creative standpoint, when we know there's a big juggernaut and a big Goliath that's out there that's watching as well?
Well, I think it's the same thing of approaching the media space for creatives that got into social media. You understand me? Everybody has the opportunity to use it, but how you use it is going to make you stand out, right? There's going to be a lot of people that's going to resist, that are purists to the art, that's going to say, well, we don't believe this is real art. We think it's unfair. The emerging markets don't care about your feelings.
Facts.
They just don't. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. And I believe that, yes, unfortunately, it will put a lot of people who spent their whole life cultivating a skill set out of business in one area. But if those same people actually have a head start, because everybody's not going to be equal at utilizing this tool. The reason why, because everybody doesn't know how to generate what they call prompts, right? So if you're creating a picture, if you're already a photographer, you're going to speak directly to the AI in a way where you say, I need you to make it with low light. Or if you're a graphic designer that generates games, you're going to say, I need you to render in Octane 8K. So you're going to have design language in a way you can put it together, and that's called prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is a new skill set that most people have never heard about whatsoever. So there's, and that's the same thing with like great communicators that can greatly describe things. Is going to help the AI generate more robust pictures. And I've seen some people utilize this that are creatives, where they take a base picture for a design, because typically when you're creating a prototype of something, it's going to take you a few days, maybe a few weeks to sketch out something, depending on who you're working with. Throughout time, it's been getting shorter and shorter. Now it's instantaneous, right? So now it's cutting down the time that you need in order to get things done. So I would just say that creatives need to add it into their flow and master it, because
Absolutely.
these companies, as a CEO, as a founder, you're still not going to want to use the tool yourself. You still will have to hire a prompt engineer. You still have to hire people who are masters at it. But now you can have a greater expectation of workflow for them, because now they have these tools that are automated and faster. So I think it's just a partnership relationship with corporate. Now, getting into the software side, if you want to make billions of dollars, that's different. But when you're talking about creating a business model to where you can monetize this, I think it's infinite, but it really depends on your creativity.
I don't know if you saw it, but recently the same in the AI space, they had Joe Rogan and Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
In 19 minutes, do like a mashup of an interview. You have an amazing, I won't call it a podcast, I'll call it an amazing show.
The talk show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. What were like maybe 4 or 5 of the biggest lessons you learned from season 1 of High Level Conversations?
One of the things that we didn't do was master our data. We are in the age where everybody is happy about analytics, but we don't own the data. So we get to see aspects of the data. YouTube doesn't give us all the data. Instagram don't give us all of the data. On the back end, they have a master file that is way more complex, where if we had that information, we'll be able to do and target in ways that are
target like, yeah.
With no complete income levels, we know taste, desires of customers, we know exact regions and everything. So without having that data, you don't really control your audience. You have access to your audience, right? So with getting, millions, probably up to like 15 plus million views right now in the span of a few months, we don't own that data yet, right? So right now it's about, if I were to put in mechanisms in place to make sure that we own that data from day one, the equity and the value of the show would be quadrupled than what it is currently. It's still valuable. Still got the top show in the world. Well, that's all I'm saying. So another thing is factoring in audio, right? Our audio experience. So we don't often push the audio experience. So right now, visuals and video is highly successful because it's a visual experience, right? You're getting the B-rolls, you're getting the overlay text, right? And, I mean, we always showing up fly. The set is always beautiful. So production is on point and it's on key, right? But from an audio experience standpoint, that number is not as strong as video. So now it's about making sure that we increase the audio experience and making sure that people know it's there, so that we can get into more countries, get into more households, and get into flow of people that's on the move. And that really just simply looks like, posting clips with synth waves and people talking, right, with quotes on there, so that people can understand, like, oh, I can listen to this too. I don't have to spend a couple of hours watching this, right? So I will say that that's a key. Another, when we first started, we didn't have all our creatives in place, right? I knew I had big ideas as far as how I wanted to do the thumbnails, how I wanted everything to roll out. So making sure that you got your full vision set as far as how robust that team. You always have to plan to succeed, right? And I don't think everybody plan to succeed. A lot of people plan to do okay, right? Yeah. So when I say succeed, like overwhelming success, to where it's like, all right, now that you're at this level, what you gonna do? And that means that you need to understand the business. So if you don't get into podcasting or media or creating a talk show, understanding the back end of the business goes directly to how you design the show, right? So therefore, I want to understand how ads work. I want to understand how media work. I want to understand how multi-channel networks work. I want to understand what is a hit show. What is the criteria when I get 1 million views, 2 million views? What are the ways that people are selling content? What are the million ways that I can actually leverage it? Because once you become a player in the space, you now have a different level of value that you can leverage based on the equity that you put into that show. So for me, that's super key. And then last but not least, I think there's some things you're supposed to learn on the go. I think that's the beautiful thing, because you get organic market viability. So they tell you what they actually like instead of you telling the customers what you like, right? Because I believe in building a community and then finding a way to service that community with a product or things of that nature. So the value chain is different. It's not what you want to sell, it's what they actually want, right?
Absolutely.
Session times, that's a much better business model. So right now, creating our newsletters, I would have put a Discord at the beginning of High Level Conversations, and we have one rolling out because I want the community to be able to engage afterwards. Everybody goes in their silos, they have conversations about high level conversations. So now it's time to curate that. And I get so many people that come to me and want to be on the show. And number one, each show requires a certain budget. So I can't just say, oh, yes, you want to be on, you got a voice, everybody gets on. That's not how I operate. So, I want a component called High Level Voices, where it's a much shorter version, maybe 10, 19 minutes, where we get to highlight some of the intellectual voices in our community.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Whole clip going up. I know they can't stand it.